President Trump sent a letter to the BBC, a letter of complaint, complaining about a documentary which had been broadcast by the BBC, in which some film had allegedly been edited in such a way as to make it look like or look more like President Trump was inciting people to commit violence and to riot at the Capitol.
We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them.
It seems, in the context of the resignation of the Director General and the head of news at the BBC, that it is not disputed that there was some editing carried out whereby either two different parts of one speech or two speeches were put together in a way which did not reflect exactly the speech that President Trump had actually made. However, I guess a question might be whether that was simply a bit of editing which didn't affect the sense of what he had said, or whether it was a distortion. Clearly, President Trump is saying it was a distortion, and as a result of the distortion, he has been libeled. That is, something's been said about him which is false, which has damaged him in his reputation. So far as I could tell from today's newspaper reporting, and what he has said to the BBC, if they don't apologise in respect of what they've done, he is going to sue them in the court of Florida, not in the English court. He's going to sue the BBC in the court of Florida for broadcasting this documentary, this program in Florida, because, as I understand it, if the law of Florida is substantially the same as English law, which is a guess on my part, but I mean, they're both common law jurisdictions, he can only sue the BBC in Florida for publication in Florida. He can't sue them in Florida in respect of publication in England. In order to do that, he'd have to come to England. And I don't think he can do that on the face of it, because it looks like the publications in England, as a matter of English law, are time barred, so statute barred by the Limitation Act 1980.
The apologising is for the way the team edited President Trump's speech to his supporters on January the 6th. We do take it really seriously. I mean, there are real issues here. They're over a 3-year period, and just let me say, the BBC in those 3 years has produced hundreds and hundreds of hours of outstanding journalism on television, on audio, on online. We have, and we do a great job there, but inevitably we make mistakes. And what he's identified are mistakes, either individual ones or ones that point to underlying problems, which we accept.
Deborah, have you found the BBC? I would like to say it has been the privilege of my career to serve as the CEO of BBC News and to work with our brilliant team of journalists. I stepped down over the weekend because the buck stops with me. But I'd like to make one thing very clear. BBC News is not institutionally biased. That's why it's the world's most trusted news provider.
He could try to come to the English court and say, could you extend the 1 year limitation period in your equitable discretion, but I'd say that's very unlikely to work. So what's he suing on in Florida? It would seem that the BBC documentary at least was available for some time via the BBC website. There's a section of the website dedicated to Panorama. Anyone can access that from anywhere in the world, as I understand it. It's not geo-blocked like the iPlayer. And if that is so, then President Trump's lawyers will be arguing that there were people in Florida who watched the program and thought the worst of him as a result. But it'll be confined to publication, i.e. viewership in Florida.
Yeah, they want to settle it.
With money involved?
No, he's treated us wrong. I mean, when I get treated unfairly, I do things about it. So we'll see what happens.
I suspect because of all the mood music seems to be that they're probably going to want to try and settle it. Because, it's the dirty laundry, as it were, is already out there because it's all come out as, in the context of the resignation of the Director General and the head of news. There seems to be a lot of information out there to suggest that President Trump, at least arguably, did stir up the problem at the Capitol, when it happened. And so there may be disputes within the BBC as to what to do. If they're basically saying if journalists think, well, what we wrote was substantially true, why should we be apologizing for something that's true? If it doesn't settle, then like anyone else, they'll have to go to Florida. They'll have to instruct some lawyers and they'll have to fight the case.
They took out her answer and they inserted an entirely different answer that made her sound competent. And they did this, and I thought I've heard of everything when it comes to that stuff. No, I've never heard of it. Nobody's ever seen. So we sued, and we are in discussions of settlement.
What would a number be, like 100? What's a number that you would think would be appropriate?
I think it's a lot.